You know, Alex, I spent 3 hours yesterday wrestling with a 4-inch stack that seemed like it was personally offended by the laws of physics. It's funny. We spend all this time making sure the water gets into the house, but the real engineering, the real art, is how you get it to leave without taking your sanity with it.
Well, considering I can hear your pipes groaning from the driveway, I'd say they're not just offended. They're staging a full-on protest. Is that what we're diving into today? The dark arts of the drain waste vent system?
Dark arts is about right. People look at a wall full of white plastic and see a mess. I see a symphony, a very temperamental, gravity-dependent symphony. Today, we're peeling back the drywall on the DWV system. It's the skeleton of the house that nobody wants to think about until the guest bathroom starts smelling like a municipal swamp.
Which is exactly why I'm here. Because most of us just assume water goes down the hole and disappears into the ether. But then you start hearing words like atmospheric pressure and trap seals, and suddenly my weekend DIY project feels like a fluid dynamics midterm. So where do we actually start?
You start with the one thing you can't argue with: gravity. A DWV system is a passive, unpressurized highway. Unlike your supply lines, which are under high pressure and will spray your ceiling if you look at them wrong, the drain side is just a long, tilted slide. If the slide isn't angled just right, the water stops sliding. And if it stops, you're in a world of hurt.
Okay, I've heard you grumbling about the pitch before. It's not just downhill is good. There's actually a too much downhill.
Believe it or not, yeah, it's a bit of a Goldilocks situation. Code usually wants a 1/4 inch drop for every foot of pipe. If you get greedy and steepen that angle too much, the water outruns the solids. Imagine a water slide where the water zips to the bottom, but the rider, in this case, well, let's just say the waste, gets stranded halfway down. That's how you get a dry clog that'll make you wish you'd never picked up a hacksaw.
So slow and steady wins the race. But what about the V in DWV? The vent. That's the part that always looks like a pipe to nowhere sticking out of the roof. Why do I need air to get rid of water?
That's the secret sauce, Alex. Without that air, your pipes are just a giant wet straw. You remember being a kid, putting your finger over the top of a straw in a soda and lifting it up? The soda stays in the straw because of the vacuum. If you don't have a vent letting air in behind the water, that rushing waste creates a suction. It'll literally pull the water right out of your P-trap. And the moment that trap goes dry, you've lost your only defense against the sewer.
And that brings us to the sewer gas conversation, which honestly sounds like a great name for a garage band, but a terrible thing to have in your kitchen.
It's no joke. We're talking methane, hydrogen sulfide, stuff that's not just stinky, it's actually dangerous. The trap is that U-shaped curve under your sink. It's designed to hold a little slug of water. That water is a physical plug. It lets the waste pass through, then resets itself to block the gas from coming back up the pipe. It's the simplest, most elegant piece of safety equipment in your entire home.
But wait, I was looking at some old plumbing in my uncle's place, and he's got these pipes that look like a literal letter S. You told me those were a disaster waiting to happen. Why?
Ah, the dreaded S-trap. They were everywhere in the early 1900s. The problem is the shape. Because the pipe goes up and then immediately down, it creates a perfect siphon. It's too efficient at moving water. It pulls so hard that it drags the seal water right out with the waste. You end up with an empty trap and a direct line to the city's digestive system. That's why P-traps are the king now. They have that extra horizontal bit, the trap arm, that breaks the siphon and lets the water settle.
All right, so we need vents and we need traps. But I've seen some setups where there's one vent for like 3 different things. Is that just a plumber trying to save on plastic, or is there a method to the madness?
That's where you get into the fancy stuff, wet venting and circuit venting. In a perfect, unlimited budget world, every fixture would have its own dedicated vent pipe going straight through the roof, but your roof would look like a pincushion.
I'm sure the neighbors would love that aesthetic. Yes, I have 12 chimneys, and they all smell like Tide and regret.
Exactly. So we use the wet vent method. Basically, you use the drain pipe of one fixture, say your sink, to act as the air vent for another fixture, like your toilet. It's like a carpooling lane for plumbing. The pipe is sized large enough so that the bottom half carries the sink water, while the top half stays empty to let air flow to the toilet. It's a delicate balance of pipe diameter and distance. If that pipe is too small, the air part of the pipe gets swallowed by the water part, and the whole system chokes.
That sounds like one of those things where close enough isn't good enough. If you're off by an inch, does the inspector just tear your house down?
They won't tear the house down, but they'll sure as heck make you tear the wall down. I remember this one job, a basement finish. The homeowner thought he was a genius and ran a circuit vent for 8 different fixtures using 2-inch pipe because it was easier to fit through the studs.
Oh no, I can feel a tiger lesson coming on.
I walked in there and it looked like a spider web made of PVC. I told him, "Partner, you've built a very expensive flute, but it's not going to drain a drop. The International Plumbing Code is very specific about circuit venting. You can have up to 8 fixtures on one horizontal branch, but the air has to circulate in the top half of that pipe. If you don't have that airspace, you get turbulence. And turbulence in a drain pipe is like a traffic jam on a rainy Friday. Nothing moves and everyone's miserable."
Speaking of misery, let's talk about cleanouts. Every time I see one of those capped-off pipes sticking out of a wall or the floor, I think, that's where the money goes when things go wrong.
You're not wrong. A cleanout is like an emergency exit for a theater. You hope you never have to use it, but when you do, you need it to be exactly where it's supposed to be. Code says you need them at specific intervals, and especially where the pipe changes direction significantly. If you bury a 90-degree bend behind a tiled wall without a cleanout nearby, you aren't just a plumber, you're a gambler, and the house always wins.
So, if I'm a DIYer or even just a curious homeowner, what's the check engine light for my DWV system? What are the signs that my venting or my traps are failing before I have a flood?
Listen to the house. If you flush the toilet and the sink starts gurgling like it's trying to summon a demon, that's a classic venting issue. The system is gasping for air and it's trying to pull it through the sink's trap. Or, if you walk into a room you haven't used in a week and it smells like a locker room, your trap seal might have evaporated or siphoned out.
I actually had that happen in my guest bath. I thought there was a dead mouse in the wall, but it was just a dry pee trap because I hadn't run the water in months.
Simplest fix in the world. Just pour a cup of water down the drain. It's the "have you tried turning it off and on again" of the plumbing world. But if it happens while you're using other fixtures, you've got a venting problem that a cup of water won't fix.
It's amazing how much physics is happening behind a wall just so we can wash our hands. It really makes you respect the trade. It's not just pipes and glue, it's managing pressure and gravity.
That's the thing. A good DWV system is invisible and silent. If you don't notice it, the plumber did their job. It's one of the few crafts where success is measured by how little people think about your work. But man, when you get that perfect pitch and you hear that first clear whoosh of a system that breathes properly, there's a quiet satisfaction in that. It's like finishing a fine dovetail joint, but with more sewage potential.
Truly the most poetic way to describe waste management.
Hey, we all have our roles to play. My role just happens to involve a lot of PVC primer and the occasional lecture on atmospheric pressure.
So, final takeaway for the folks at home before they go cutting into their main stack?
Respect the vent. It's the lungs of your house. If your plumbing can't breathe, it can't work. And for heaven's sake, keep a level on your horizontal runs. Gravity doesn't take days off, and it doesn't care about your eyeballing its skills.
Sounds like a plan. Next time, can we talk about something that smells a little better? Maybe woodworking?
Deal. But I'm telling you, once you understand how water moves, you'll never look at a sink the same way again.